Alrighty everyone, hello. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about Archangel Ariel, who may or may not actually be an angel, depending on who you ask. By the way, if you want to see these videos 2 weeks earlier, consider subscribing to my Patreon, where you not only get all these videos, but also recipe cards, specific deity profiles, and lots of other interesting things to look at. Video tiers start at $10 a month, so definitely consider checking it out. So, according to a lot of the more new agey websites, especially like Learn Religions and other such things, Ariel is an angel whose name means lion or lioness of God. Obviously, as all angels, they can appear as male or female, but a lot of people see Ariel as female. And whether or not that's because of our common associations with the name or not, I'm not entirely sure, but she appears in Doreen Virtue's Angel Oracle deck as 3 separate cards. First one being as Spread Your Wings, the second one being Courage, and the last one being Prosperity. As you can see, she is represented as a woman most often, and she has a lot of associations with helping with finances, with helping with obviously your strength and your courage as the Lion of God, and also with just general healing and making sure that your environment is safe and secure and that you are in a place where you can properly grow and flourish. This is an angel that is most often seen as a woman. So do with that what you will. But according to these websites, Ariel is an angel of nature and of, animals, healing, things like that. Some say that she even gets help from Raphael, who is the major angel of healing, in, making sure that animals are okay, that you're okay, that the world is okay. And some other sources have actually put her in the rank of virtues. I believe St. Thomas Aquinas, did list Ariel as a virtue, and virtues are one of the 9 choirs of angels that are specifically dealing with the cosmic world, right? So the stars, the planets, and all of the elements on Earth, making sure this whole thing doesn't totally crash and burn, right? Good stuff. However, where she actually shows up in the Bible is only really in the apocryphal literature. She shows up in the Gnostic text, Pistis Sophia, in which Jesus is basically saying, renounce all idols, or you'll face the torments of Ariel. And also in the Wisdom of Solomon, which is a Jewish apocryphal text, apparently she shows up there. I did read through it, and I couldn't really find her name in it, but it is thought that she is drawn out of that, and so a lot of Kabbalistic and Gnostic circles alike will attribute Ariel to being a punisher of demons, a real, go-getter, and, someone who destroys evil pretty handily. Her being associated with nature is also really interesting, and it makes me think of Saint Francis of Assisi, who is the patron saint of animals and other such things. Which, side note, would you guys be interested in a similar series as this, but for saints? Because there are certainly a ton of saints that we could talk about. Ariel is also talked about in these kinds of few verses here, but specifically it seems to be referring more to the city of Jerusalem, or an offshoot city. So again, how this apparent city name became a name of an angel really does go back to mysticism and just interpreting this angel in very interesting ways, right? Taking a place name or a person's name and interpreting it through a more metaphorical and mystical lens, assuming that there is more to that name than what is actually just written down. This is a common thing done in a lot of mysticism, especially Jewish and Christian mysticism, so wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened here. But nonetheless, Ariel as an angel or not, at this point I would say she does exist because of the amount of time and attention people have put on her. Whether or not a pre-existing angel had formed and taken on this name as a mask that we understand, whether she always existed and we just kind of misinterpreted, because she's a reference to the city in certain things, and referenced as the name of a person, say in the book of Ezra, I would say that the energy of the Lion of God probably exists. And what's interesting is that other Gnostic texts also will confuse Ariel with Uriel a little bit, which I suppose if the names are only a letter off or so, maybe that's understandable, but knowing that this was all in different religions, different languages at the time, that's kind of interesting to think about, I guess. Something I always notice is that a lot of these websites like Learn Religions and such, they always have a section about trickster spirits and about spirits that are just trying to get something from you and are just trying to kind of, you know, pull the wool over your eyes and basically spiritually grift a little bit, right? They don't really know the answers to your questions and they're just kind of spitballing anything that they think you're going to latch onto in exchange for some kind of token, be it an offering, be it energy, something like that. They're not necessarily bad any more than a wolf eating a rabbit is bad, honestly, but, you know, these sections do always say that if you are in a time of desperation and you feel something come looking, don't listen to it, because it's probably just looking to take advantage of those feelings. So what do I mean when I say a mask of God? Well, in my opinion, because there are angels out there like Zadkiel, who has an altar of Sachiel, I'm thinking that angels at their base are kind of blank slate beings, and when they are gifted a name or an aspect of God, they take on that aspect, and that's when their consciousness and personality really forms, right? So before that, they are just kind of this divine presence, which isn't necessarily fully realized yet, I guess. It's a piece, it's something that God has made, but when God breathes into this angel that specific feature, say like Michael, right? He who is like God, or say Uriel, God is my light. It's then that these angels take on very specific characteristics, specific actions, so on and so forth. And this idea has a couple different applications. If you've ever heard of the Qliphoth, which is essentially the inverse of the Tree of Life in Jewish Kabbalah. There is an idea that angels can also wear a qliphotic mask, right? So that duality is present in them as well. And this can radically change how they look, how they act, how they interact with you, and what they do. People who are very interested in left-hand paths and demonolatry will likely be familiar with the qliphotic masks and the more dual aspect side of these angels. And so knowing all these things, I do think that an angel like Ariel can exist, in that God has to just kind of bestow that name and that personality onto an angel. I mean, God already made all the angels that are. There's no one saying that either angels can't swap masks out, or that angels can't wear more than one, or that angels can't be made to carry one specifically. But it is up to you to discern in the end whether or not Ariel is actually an angel that you would call on, or whether if you had any kind of animal troubles, finance troubles, or so on, you might have other specific entities in mind to work with. But obviously when it comes to angels, it's pretty easy to tell whether or not it's a trickster. So again, Ariel likely does exist at this point. Probably, you know, enough have been calling on this name that there is an angel wearing that mask, that name right now, that aspect. But whether or not it feels right to you is entirely up to you. So this is definitely a more controversial angel of the month, but nonetheless one that's very, very interesting to think about. Stay tuned, because we are getting into a whole new month of topics for April. See you guys.